Madlab Performance presents The Lab Podcast. Here's your host and chief mad scientist, Dan Gilbert.
Hello and welcome everybody to The Lab. I'm here with Alec Bulat, executive producer and fitness coach. I didn't forget anything. Alec, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself, Dan? How you doing?
I am great. We're also here with Juliana Rossi. Juliana, how are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
Great. Nutrition coach, fitness professional. You have a ton of titles, I'm sure.
Go by many names.
That is probably true. No rules, Jules, of all sorts of things. Today's podcast is brought to you by FNX Fitness. If you're looking for a supplement company that will help you rise up, look no further than FNX Fitness. Rocking the shirt over there.
I'm about to say, everybody look at the camera right now.
Got some clothing.
I'm currently wearing FNX apparel at the moment. This wonderful tank is brought to you by FNX. FNX, if you didn't hear before, FNX.
With products ranging from recharge to help amp up your workout, restart for your AM protein blend, and rebalance for all your super green needs. Whether it be gaining muscle or just looking to live a healthier life, FNX will help you get there. For 15% off of all FNX products, use code MADLAB with a capital M and a capital L. Make sure you put that in at checkout, and let's get you one step closer to your nutritional goals. Pretty successful ad read, I think.
Yeah, so far so good, buddy.
Alec, what are we doing here today?
Well, it's actually funny that you said nutritional goals because today's topic is, in fact, nutrition. Matter of fact, we're going to be busting some myths today about nutrition, which I'm actually very excited about. And that is why we have brought on Giules here, who is a nutrition coach, among many other things. So she's going to be helping us.
Wolf Dog Tamer.
Mm-hmm. Wolf Dog Tamer, as you can see. For all you YouTube subscribers out there, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So Giules is going to be talking to us today a little bit about some of those big nutritional fads that we have going on, some of the myths that you hear circulating the internet quite a bit. And, we're just going to kind of take it away on that. And we have some pretty big talking points today that I'm really excited about. And I'd say that's pretty much it.
I got one to start with.
Okay, go for
Jules, Mikey, would you say today we're also myth busting?
No, I wouldn't.
Let's go with one. Carbs. Carbs are bad.
They're terrible.
Terrible.
They're awful.
Yeah, you don't need carbs.
You should never eat them.
I personally have never ate a carb in my life.
Not one time.
Pretty impressive.
Not once.
I think I've maybe got one once, but other than that, have a pretty clean slate. Just kidding. Carbs are really, really good for you, and you really, really need carbs. So when it comes to, sorry, I'm staring at Wolfie. When it comes to, so there's a lot of stuff going around. I feel like the last 10 years, the whole no carb thing has been a giant movement. This whole no carb trend. I mean, back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was the no fats, and now it's the no carbs. And so, I feel as fitness coaches, we all know you need carbs in your diet.
It's a primary source of energy.
Absolutely. It's why it's called a macronutrient. There's the three: the carbs, the fats, the proteins. Everything, all foods, all of life, you need them. You need all three. So I think some of the biggest kind of no carb, low carb trends going on right now. I mean, everyone knows about keto.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Keto's
not a new
a giant
thing.
One
Yeah, Atkins isn't a new thing, but I guess for people who don't know what keto is, I think like traditional keto is like less than 20 carbs a day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like 15 carbs.
Whatever gets you to, I think it's, I want to say you're right with the less than 20. It's something in the,
it's something
to get you
super
to
low.
Ketosis.
But
right?
like
So.
just like zero. So there's been a lot of stuff, I guess like recently more kind of like articles and stuff being published about research being done on keto. So the whole thought behind keto kind of goes back to like hormones. So when you eat carbs, those carbs, I mean, they all get like processed like metabolically, and then eventually they release insulin through the pancreas. So insulin then goes to your cells, and your cells use that as, you know, as they need to. But insulin, yeah. So insulin is kind of thought as like the fat storing hormone. But so like the more insulin like people tend to have, the more fat they tend to store. So behind keto, it's like if you don't eat carbs, you won't have these spikes in insulin, therefore you're not storing fat. But that's kind of been like disproven, like the last couple years, all this research they've been doing, it's like this huge trend. But the one thing keto does, I guess, is kind of switch your body into ketosis. So if you're not eating carbs, you're burning fats.
As your primary
as fuel,
energy,
as primary fuel. Yeah. So I think what a lot of people get confused about, though, is that there's dietary fats and there's body fat. So dietary fat is the fat that you're taking in through your diet. That's what's being burned. You're not necessarily burning body fats as fuel. Okay? So a lot of people who do keto, who see those like, I guess, large changes in like body weight, especially like, I mean, if you're losing weight on keto, it's most likely because you're not having those like highly processed carbs in your diet, like pizza and cake and cookies that are all really, really high in fat as well. So you're eating in a calorie deficit. So calorie deficit means you're losing weight, you're burning body fat as a source of energy.
And it does seem that a lot of these diets do seem to find a different way of spinning a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
Right? All right, we'll cut out a macronutrient. Okay, we're going to limit the amount of time that you can eat. We're going to just have you eat cardboard all day, but as much cardboard as you want. So
Absolutely,
that's also good.
Because that's 0 calories in
right,
cardboard, right?
No calories in cardboard. I think that, where was I going with this? Alec.
We'll find out.
Look into my brain.
Okay.
Bring me back to it. Oh, no, so I got it.
Okay,
Don't
cool.
worry, everybody. Don't worry. I'm not going to see now as of yet. I see Mike. Mike's gotta put his little thing in. So carbohydrates also, I think that when people cut out carbohydrates, they also lose a lot of water weight. So those foods that you mentioned are also high in salt, right? So sodium content, and that's going to help you store water weight anytime that you stop eating stuff like that. But then carbs as carbohydrates naturally help you retain water, and then also a primary source of energy. So like that's a big part of it as well. So I think that as soon as people start keto, they see some great fat loss, some great progress in their diet journey. But a lot of it is just a cut down in water weight, and I think people need to be aware of that, and then not have these expectations that that's going to continue, or that. Man, I'm really losing myself here.
No, man, I see where you're going with this, right? It kind of wraps back to like what Giules had already said, though, right? It all comes back to the calorie deficit and the water loss, right? And a lot of what we're going to touch base on today going forward is going to kind of wrap back into that same mentality, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to lose body fat, Giules, what do you need to do?
Eat in a caloric deficit.
Shocker of the century, right?
But I mean, you are like. You're right, because like you think about how carbs are like processed in the body. You need water in order to like
do everything.
You need water for everything, but water is a huge part in processing carbohydrates and making glucose. And like, so you know the whole like ATP equals energy thing. You need to add water to that equation in order to like metabolize carbohydrates. So if you don't have carbohydrates, there goes a huge portion of water. You know. I mean, you need it for, like, obviously every other body process as well. Yeah. But, like, it's just...
I feel like a lot of people don't even realize, like, how cellular respiration works, right? Like, they don't understand, like, how the cells actually use glucose in that sense, right? Or photosynthesis or whatever it is, right? Like, so they don't have a general understanding of, like, the chemical components of, like, how cells are maintaining function on a consistent basis, right? Because glucose is the energy source that most cells use on a consistent basis, correct? Yeah. So without glucose, then you're going to turn to what first?
Well, it's so glucose is like your basic unit of carbohydrate. From there, it'll go to fats.
Okay. Dietary fats, as
you're saying,
right?
Fats,
okay.
Yeah. And then, I mean, lastly, it would be proteins, because your body's going to try and hold on to those proteins because those make up your muscles. You know, you need protein, and then for a million other things too, but like the proteins are probably what your body's going to hold on to the most.
Maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's why my brain is not working today.
Not enough proteins? Or a loss of proteins?
Could be a combination of all
Who
of
knows?
it.
You know what it might be? It might be not enough glucose, because that helps with brain function as well.
That's another thing that I think carbohydrates are extremely important in brain function, right?
Absolutely.
So then I just don't get ever cutting out a macronutrient. Like, I just don't see.
Yeah.
I did, well, there is some research on keto for like people with some extreme health issues,
Yeah.
right? Epilepsy. They've actually had some pretty good research with keto helping epilepsy. So that's different than what we're talking about today. But as like a pure, because then you're just talking in exceptions, right? And there's exceptions with everything with the human body. So I shouldn't say like never or always with that stuff. But as a weight loss tool or as a general body composition tool, especially if you're doing something body composition wise, almost all the time you want it to be sustainable too. If you're cutting out a macronutrient, that's almost never sustainable. Like, I don't really know one person that's done keto for years.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of
consistently.
That's what I was going to turn back to you, Giules, and say. So, like, if you had somebody that came up to you right now and they're like, hey, I want to lose weight for a long extended period of time and I want to try doing ketosis through this entire process, what would you say to them? What would be your explanation as to why you would not recommend that, if that would be what you recommend?
So I think anyone who's coming and like getting Wolfie's got to freak out first.
Sorry, Wolf Dog. Just trying to pet you.
If anyone's coming to us for nutrition advice, like, they're obviously coming for some aspect of performance as well.
Yeah.
And so carbohydrates have an insane role to play in athletic performance and just like existing throughout the day. You know, like, if you like start keto, you're obviously going to be exhausted, tired. Like, you can't, like, a lot of people drink a coffee in the morning and put cream and sugar in their coffee, and so you have all that like caffeine, energy, stuff like that. But I think honestly too, it all just depends on how that person feels on that like sustained way of eating. Because if like someone enjoys eating keto and they feel really good on it, I'm not gonna be like, hey, whatever. But I mean, I'd push the carbs a little bit. Not necessarily like with anyone coming in, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, go eat Pop-Tarts and then come work out. Like, no, that's not.
I like that time.
I was gonna say,
That's sustainable to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it all just depends on, I guess, like how they're already eating and what they're doing. If they're fairly healthy or eat fairly healthy, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I want to do keto, I would not recommend it. I'd just say keep doing what you're doing. You know, you're hitting all your bases, all your important bases, and then, I mean, we go from there. Because everything, you know, it takes time, stuff like that too, but...
Yeah,
sure.
of course. And I think that's why keto is so popular in today's day and age, right? Is because you see pretty immediate results, a lot attributed to that water weight loss that you were talking about before, right?
Yeah.
So we have a society of people who want pretty instant gratification, right? So they see those immediate results coming from keto, so they're like, okay, this works, right? What they don't understand is the long-term effects of it, and they don't understand the process that's going to take them from point A to point B in a sustainable long-term fashion. And I think that's where the mix-up really gets to, right? They don't understand the entirety of the process, right? They don't understand what it's going to take for them to do this over a long, extended period of time, because we all... And I mean, I'm guilty of this a lot of times too, right? I think in very short spurts of time, right? I think of what I'm going to do for the next month to get there, or what I'm going to do for the next like 8-week period so I can look good for my like, you know, beach trip or whatever it is, right? So I think that's kind of where people are coming with this idea, because they see quick results, but I don't think they understand the full, you know, ramifications, I guess is probably the best word to use, of doing that for an extended period of time.
Yeah, they don't see the whole time, because I feel like if you do keto and you feel good on keto, you do it for like the rest of your life, because that's how you want to burn your food, your energy, like stuff like that. So I
think keto, I think another thing that happens with keto is that it's a very strict structure. It's also very simple for you to be like, Dan, what are you doing with your nutrition? I go, I'm doing keto. And you immediately have some understanding of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a buzzword, and then people are like, oh, all right, you're doing keto, da-da-da, and it has like talking points to it. And then also there's a community with it, right? So then if I do keto and you do keto, we're like, oh, let's talk about, so like it's got a community, just like any other big trend in nutrition or fitness that gets popular, right? People want to be part of a tribe or a community.
Exactly.
And I think that's also where a lot of people go with it, if that makes sense.
Which brings us to our next point, and I really want to get into this so that we can just keep going forward through. Oh, go ahead. You have something?
I want
Hit it,
to
man.
say, did we bust the myth?
So, okay, because we're not myth busters, we are busting the myths
We're
of nutrition.
myth busters. Right, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So,
He knows.
all right, so
Bless you.
Sorry.
jury's approval. Should we just go ahead and do one final say? Giules, do you want to give your like last final verdict on keto or just low
judge
carb
it.
or no carbs?
Carbs are bad. What do you think?
Carbs are good. Sorry. Trying to tickle my throat.
So we myth busted.
That's it. Carbs are good.
So let's move on to the next topic of today, which is another big trend. Yeah, I was about to say that quick transition.
Which myth are we going to bust now? Just busting myths.
We're not myth busters. We're just busting myths all
Busting
day.
myths.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, okay. So, speaking of...
Drowning guests.
Jeez, man.
Sorry.
What?
After you, Alec. I'm sorry.
I say that was aggressive. All right. Anyway, so speaking of fad diets that we see a lot, one that was brought to our attention by the Disco Biscuit himself, who could not be here today, is the big surging culture of going vegetarian or vegan and essentially going plant-based as not necessarily a lifestyle choice because of whether it be some type of, personal choice to not want any type of like environmental issues that accompany it, or this is stuff that I can't really speak to, right? So those are personal choices, but more from like a specific health side, right? They're saying plant-based is healthier for you than non-plant-based. That's the second myth. And Giules, I want to hear a little bit from you about what you think about that.
I think there's a lot of, benefits. Sorry. I think there's a lot of benefits to eating plant-based, but there's also a lot of holes in your diet. So, like, if you're eating plant-based and you're eating, like, Oreos, like, come on.
Are they vegan Oreos?
Oreos are vegan.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Every Oreos.
It's healthy.
Well, I think the regular Oreos are vegan, so they're super healthy. But,
What-
yeah.
Are
That's
there
why I eat
non-vegan?
sleeves on them all the time.
No, there's no
That's how I get my
animal
gains.
products in Oreos.
Okay, so, but the way you made it sound is like, is there like any Oreos that would ever have animal products in them?
I don't know
Do you
about,
have
like, the...
bacon Oreos?
Or
That sounds
carnivore Oreos?
disgusting. Carnivore.
Yeah, wolf dog.
Okay, we're all
Taste
right.
that man flesh.
We're coming back. We're coming back. So Oreos, they are vegan. You are correct.
Oreos are vegan, but like if that's the kind of plant-based diet you're going for, it's obviously not gonna be healthy.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know, from a performance standpoint, if you just eat plant-based, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of holes in your diet. You're not getting complete sources of protein, so you're gonna have to supplement there. You're not, satiated eating all these like plants and stuff. You can eat a ton of stuff. It's very like nutrient dense for how many calories you're getting, but also at the same time, it's kind of hard to just like sit there and eat spinach all day.
You
know?
you can get a complete, right? You can get a complete protein profile by eating plant-based. It just has to be
Yeah,
you have
not
to
from like
eat
a
one
bunch of
source.
different-
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
crazy
from different.
variety.
Like you could eat like black beans and like
Pea
brown,
protein or
yeah,
whatever.
stuff like that, and then it makes a complete protein.
versus eating like a cow leg.
Yeah,
or something.
if you're
Do you just eat
knocking
straight
out
up
a
cow legs?
Would you be surprised?
No. Keep going, Giules.
But
Run, Wolfie.
go whoopee go. I think.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I really wanted to add, because I think that it's not so much the question, is plant-based good for you? Because it could be, right?
Yeah.
And it could have a lot of benefits. It could be a balanced diet. Yes, it might be a little bit harder to get everything that you want from it, but it could be viable and it also probably sustainable. But we think that like, the myth becomes plant-based is so much healthier. I mean, sometimes it seems like people are like, it's exponentially healthier than eating a diet in which you're eating meat and animal products and carnivorios. I
think just because of all the things you're missing in a solely plant-based diet, that it is inferior to a diet with carnivorios.
I say we're gonna have to get that brand rolling after this podcast.
I think it's just it's a good way to get in all the nutrients that you need. Like, I don't feel like and I mean, it could go back to personal, viewpoints or things like that on why you would eat a plant-based diet. But I think from a performance standpoint, it is inferior to, just eating whole foods and animal products and stuff like that. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right, Dan. I think that's where a lot of people are getting mixed up, right? Is they just view plant-based as just the far superior option, right? And that's why you see so much stuff. And this is actually kind of where I want to segue really quickly, was into stuff like the Impossible Burger, right? Like, you see that popping up everywhere now. Like, every single restaurant has Impossible Burgers. And they're marketing it essentially as like a healthier option than their regular burgers.
Yeah.
Although it includes pretty much every single ingredient of their normal burger, just with non-meat-based patties. So, out of curiosity, Giules, would you classify, like, let's go ahead and take Burger King, for example, because I see those billboards everywhere and they agitate me. Would you take like a regular plant-based burger from Burger King as healthier than a non-plant-based burger? And I know you don't know everything about their calorie content, but...
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know exactly what goes in a Whopper patty, but also at the same time, I know that, like, if you're at the grocery store and you're picking ground beef and then Beyond Meat, that Beyond Meat is way more processed and full of stuff than your regular grass-fed ground beef, So if you're looking for something, if you're doing it from a health standpoint, that's like, okay, I want to eat less processed food, then that, your Beyond Meat, your Impossible Burger, like stuff like that, it doesn't compare to the other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, any thoughts?
I would agree with Giules with all of that. So I think that, again, it just, it comes down to ingredients when you're talking about nutrition. And so the simpler, the more whole ingredients that you have, the better off you are. If somebody's trying to genetically modify something so that it fits a certain profile, aka like a vegan trying to take meat and make it like some kind of meat tasting patty, then I think there's going to be a lot of additives and that is where you start to get some of your issues, I think.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and bust this myth or not. Giules, verdict: is eating plant-based healthier than non-plant-based?
I don't think it's healthier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's too many holes in the plant-based diet to compare to a regular healthy whole food diet. Not the grocery store, like eating actual whole food.
We're not gonna market Whole Foods.
Yeah, we're not marketing Whole Foods here. There's no plug.
Unless you want to sponsor us, Whole Foods. So.
then we will market.
Yeah, then we'll
have a whole ad read.
Yeah,
for
It'd
sure.
be great.
I know, like, Bezos might be in space still, but like, if you're hearing this podcast right now, just know that I'd market it. So yeah.
I mean, really, even if Oreos wants to sponsor us now.
Yeah, I was about to say Carnivoreos. Yeah, we could just know that we're a creative team. So, all right.
It's got bone marrow. I don't know why bone marrow.
Cream-filled bone marrow.
Why do we have to go to this place?
I mean, I couldn't help myself. All right, so continuing on, and I think this actually kind of comes back to the plant-based versus non-plant-based, is we're going to take a quick run down the myth of cleanses. And I really want to talk about especially juice cleanses, because that is a fad that you see a lot today, right? And so first and foremost, Giules, give me your 2 cents on just cleansed diets as a whole.
I mean, you have your liver. And
And
that
your kidneys.
cleanses
That's true,
and your
that's a thing.
kidneys, and those
Yeah.
cleanse for you. So I don't see the point in having a cleanse.
Okay.
You know,
Alright.
like it doesn't make sense to me. And like, say you do like a 2-week juice cleanse.
Yeah.
You're drinking juice the whole time. So not only is your stomach gonna hate you, but you're gonna be lacking so many micronutrients, macronutrients.
But Jules,
everything.
what happens when I go to Cabo for 2 weeks and all I do is drink tequila and eat glorious Mexican food? So then I obviously need a cleanse from my bad behavior, and I just need a reset.
You
Right? I just
can
got to reset.
Never stop drinking tequila. The tequila itself is cleansing.
I agree completely with that.
No,
especially
but-
the cheaper,
The rail.
the rail.
Anyway, but come back and just eat your normal diet. Like, you don't like a diet full in good lean proteins and good vegetables, green leafy vegetables and whole grains and stuff like that. That's enough of a cleanse that you need to come back, or when you come back from Cabo. 'Cause
I also
you're-
think a lot of times it'll have pretty much the same effect. Right?
For sure.
I think people like to have a cleanse, and they like to have like, I know this sounds ridiculous, but they want something that's like not quite tangible, but in a way, like they almost are like, oh, I need to cleanse, and then the more stuff that comes out of me, that I know, like, I've gotten rid of. Tell me that's not true, though. That's what people
mean,
look
no,
for. Yeah.
right,
So
you're
they're
right.
like, I need to get the evil out. You know, like I just left all the demons.
Get the devil out of me.
And the demons are in the sewer system now. But I think that's like, I think that it's not only like a lot of times like they think they're cleansing their body, but almost like cleanse them and whatever else.
Like their souls
they
as
did
well.
there. Yeah,
The
but
whole thing.
but I think that if you change your diet drastically from something that's terrible to something, no matter what it is, so if it's very limiting and it's just all juices and stuff like that, then you're gonna have a pretty wild effect on your stomach, right? And then
Yeah.
also you're not eating so terribly, so you're not eating a lot of salt or almost any really. From your juice cleanse, so then you're gonna drop a lot of water weight.
Yeah.
Right. You're not eating a lot if you eat a regular diet with the lean proteins, and then you eat a lot of vegetables and stuff. Again, your salt intake's down, so it's gonna have the same effect. Also, it's a drastic change in the diet that you had when you're in Cabo drinking whatever tequila and doing
Yeah.
whatever. So you are probably gonna have the tangible effect, as we say, as well. It's just a much healthier way, because I do think that you're right. You have a liver and kidneys, and they're very efficient if they're working properly.
I'm about to say, if you're taking care of them, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're very efficient in cleansing your body, and it's hard to get something that's going to cleanse or aid them in cleansing the body other than just having a normal diet.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm kind of curious, Jules. You've mentioned that it's gonna wreak havoc on your stomach, and obviously, as Dan already alluded to, it's going to be coming
Expel
out,
the demons.
expelling the demons.
Yes.
But I actually am curious. Why do you say that it's going to wreak havoc on your stomach? Like, what's the specifics of a juice cleanse that's just going to destroy your stomach?
Well, if anyone's ever done a juice cleanse,
Have
it's
you done a
usually-
juice cleanse?
I've never done a juice cleanse, but I know people who have.
I have
Usually,
done one.
Around day 3 or 4, I hear the floodgates are open. And it's not pretty.
So is it just like a sheer volume of fiber, or what's causing this floodgate to open for them?
Well, there's no real substance to your diet.
Okay.
There's no solids going in, so there's not going to be many solids coming out.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, once again, cleansing those demons, I guess, right? Like whatever makes them feel better. But at the end of the day,
Also, couldn't somebody just be like, instead of a cleanse, I'm just gonna eat a ghost pepper.
If that's what that's what
And
they
I'm
want.
just gonna have a
like, yeah,
one
go
day.
ahead.
that'll be the fad diet that we start.
That is.
the ghost pepper
The ghost
cleanse.
pepper diet.
I guarantee
Yeah.
they already have like a spice cleanse diet.
Who knows, man?
somehow,
Actually,
Yeah.
I think they do.
Like
They
a
do like
cayenne
the spices.
pepper.
Yeah, the cayenne pepper in the juice cleanses, because that's supposed to help. Like, I don't know, man. Honestly, what would Jules? You're the person. What would the cayenne
The
pepper?
thermic
help?
effect of food, I guess. It's
Well,
spicy, so it makes you.
If it's spicy too,
Yeah.
it does. It will. Even though cayenne pepper is an anti-inflammatory,
Okay.
if it's enough spice, if it's spicy enough, then for a lot of people, it's going to upset the digestive tract and their intestines, and then that's gonna cause spasming. So it's almost like your intestines are cramping, and that expel some more demons.
The
As we
bubble
say,
guts.
yeah. Opening the floodgates, as Jules so fondly says of it.
Big fan of all the metaphors that we've come up today.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank
We're,
you.
we're learning. This is good. Are we busting this myth?
We're busting this myth. Yeah.
So, final verdict, Jules. Juice cleanses. Good, bad. How do you feel about them?
They're bad and ugly.
Dang, that's a
Yeah.
combination. You don't even get to
Yeah.
choose one. Usually
Also-
either bad or ugly.
I think it's also like important to note that like by cleanse we mean like you're only like drinking liquids or eating one food or something, you know, like
Yeah.
that. It's not like I feel like a lot of people get cleanse and supplementation mixed up. So they'll be like, oh, I'm doing like a cleanse, but then they eat their normal diet, which is, you know, could be like healthy for them, and then they supplement with like different you know, like their greens and like different vitamins and stuff like that. And so that's not necessarily a cleanse. That's something you probably should have been doing already, just filling the holes in your diet.
You're just literally
You're
just
eating cleaner.
eating health. You're just getting healthier.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily like cleansing and you know, doing anything that's gonna help, like detoxing.
Yeah.
You know.
It's their atonement. It's their atonement from those 2 weeks in Cabo, man.
Now
Exactly.
that's if they want to do it from a mental aspect. I could get down with that. If they're like, I deserve this, then probably, you know, like that's the way of
I deserve
doing
to
things.
cleanse these demons.
Yeah,
To be
that's fine with me. They're like, I need to sit here for 2 hours. And you're like, that's on them, and that's they feel better mentally after that. Then I'm for it, as long as they didn't destroy their body in their cleanse.
So I want to sidebar really quickly and continue on with this for a second, because I remember seeing something really wild. Matter of fact, I had to have this conversation with a client of mine a few years ago, because they did exactly what we were talking about, right? They came back from a trip, they drank a bunch of booze, they ate a bunch of quote-unquote bad foods, right? And they came back and they had already bought a prescribed juice cleanse. So marketing companies in general are taking advantage of this fad diet a lot, right?
For sure.
They're taking advantage of people's guilt. They're taking advantage of all of this stuff. And so I kid you not when I say they paid like, God, it was so expensive. It was like $600 for like 2 weeks of juices.
Jeez.
Where they would have one juice that they would have instead of a meal. Right, so they would have juice number 1 as their first meal, juice number 2 as their second meal, juice number 3 as their third, and you know they would have 5 total each day, and they were supposed to do that for 2 weeks, and that would essentially completely reset the timer for them.
I love how it gets marketed too, and they're like, and this one is carrot juice with extra orange, and like, like I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know. It's just
it's what we were talking about already, right? They're just eating healthier, right? They're getting in the nutrients, they're getting in the stuff that you should probably be putting in your body already, anyways, right? But they're just. I think it's the information that they're being fed about it that is so ridiculous at the end of the day.
And it's also, well, I lost it again, Alec. Maybe I am. My brain is going downhill. Continue
I
on.
was say, remember this next time we're rolling, so I don't throw you into the mat, especially with your head.
That probably is when we collided heads.
Yeah. Oh, right. That did happen.
That made me 30% dumber.
So you're at 0?
I knew there was going to be. I thought it was going to come from you though, Mike.
To think about that.
I was like queuing you up behind me. I was like, I know Mike's coming with an insult here for sure, but Alec completed the social over there.
I say beat you to the punch, Mike. Sorry, bud.
That's it.
Yeah. So, all right, we've gone over it. The myth has been officially busted. Juice cleanses are ridiculous. Do not cleanse your demons, people. Maybe spiritually, but you don't have to go through the juice cleanse. So another one that I really want to go into, and I think this is going to be the one that we wrap on today, is intermittent fasting. And just essentially meal timing myths, right? So the ones that you hear,
that's a good one.
Is intermittent fasting is the obvious and, you know, like the best way to go about eating, right? That's just how you should be living your life. And the second is you should be eating every single 2 hours, and you have to. If you miss that timing, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So Jules, let's start with intermittent fasting first. I want to hear your thoughts and your takes on intermittent fasting.
It depends. So I personally don't do it. I've never done it. But if I'm just looking at someone from like a particular kind of like standpoint, like say someone starts intermittent fasting, they don't eat until 12 o'clock and they eat until 6. But before they started doing it, they would go to McDonald's and get McDonald's breakfast every day before work. And then, you know, that was their life beforehand. So after they started it, they were kind of in like a caloric, sorry guys.
Right.
After they started, they're already putting themselves in a caloric deficit, so they're going to lose weight. But I think that's another thing with intermittent fasting, is that it's just another way to eat in a caloric deficit. Like, you don't necessarily have to intermittent fast in order to see the same results.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go on, Dan. Actually, go ahead.
And just so, because there has been some research showing that it can boost immune function. So fasting can boost immune function. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about it as a way to change your body composition. Yes. Right.
Yeah,
so I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, so people aren't like, "Well, the immune response, because there is some good research with that.
So what is the immune response to fasting?
There's multiple papers on it, but I think after a 14-hour fast is when you start to get they see a big boost in your immune system.
So
specifically,
white
I think
blood
your
cell
white
count?
blood cell
Okay.
count, is I think what the whole that study is off of. Again, I don't have it in front of me, and I just know that I've read it, and then I was pretty floored with the research, and I thought that was cool. But from a body composition standpoint, I agree with Giules. I feel like it's just another way to find a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
If it's to work in somebody's schedule and that really helps them find structure, then I think that's a good thing. But I think a lot of times that's what meal timing is, right?
Yeah,
your timing should be individualized. It should be based around your schedule, and when you feel like you're going to have structure to actually eat healthier and fit into your caloric deficit and get all your macros in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think that I'm not going to like tell people like what to think, but I feel like if you're going to do
what to think, Giules.
intermittent fasting, that shouldn't be the main like thing. If you're going to lose weight, eat in a caloric deficit. If you need to intermittent fast in order to eat in a caloric deficit, give it a try. But however, you don't necessarily need to intermittent fast in order to see those results. Yeah.
What about meal timing? Because that was the other one. So some people feel like you need to make sure that you eat breakfast in the morning, and that's going to kickstart your metabolism. And some people are like, no, you should not eat breakfast in the morning because that actually interferes with your digestion. What do you think about these things?
I think it depends on what your schedule is. So a lot of people, like, you hear like, oh, never eat right before you go to bed because that food's just going to sit there. I mean, it is going to sit there, but you have 24-hour glycogen pathways. So that food can still be used within that 24 hours. So it really doesn't matter when you eat it.
Can you explain that? Because that is really, really important in this food time.
I was just gonna say that's important.
And
to
people don't understand this, and I think it's a big thing. So explain the 24-hour pathways.
So say you eat like some crackers before bed, something carby, because glycogen is a carb,
Right.
So you're sitting there, you're eating your crackers. 2 hours later, you go to bed, you feel guilty because you ate crackers, they're just sitting in your stomach. That's not necessarily true. If you wake up and you're working out at 5 a.m., I think it's honestly better to go and eat a larger meal with more, I guess, carbs, healthy fats, proteins at night. Go to bed. Go to bed. I'm just
busting
really
mics.
I was about to say,
busting mics,
busting myths, busting mics. Giules does it all with no rules.
No rules and a little bit of coughing. But, so go to bed or eat your meal, go to bed, wake up. Your, like, banana and peanut butter that you're going to eat before you work out at 5 a.m. is not going to do you much good. It's going to be the meal that you did before. That's why all the, like, carbo loading and stuff for marathon runners, they do that the night before. Because they have those carbs
really
in their
point.
system. Yeah. And they're not like doing like in The Office where he's just like eating Alfredo as he's running, So you have those nutrients in your system readily available for you to use. They're not just sitting there becoming body fat.
Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
where people just have a huge misunderstanding of what carbs do.
And I
again.
think a lot of people also weigh themselves in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. So then if you eat at midnight and you go to bed at 12:01, then you wake up in the morning, you weigh yourself at 5:00. Then of course you're going to be heavier than if you ate the last time at 7 p.m. Right. So then like it depends on when you're weighing yourself. Once you fit into whatever your nutrition, however you're going to time it, like then you should look for your trends after that. Don't go, all right, I'm going to stop eating at 6. Then the next day, like, weigh yourself. And then the next day, eat at midnight and be like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten so late. You know, like I think that is also a giant problem.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What a wild schedule you laid out there, by the way. Like 12 eating time, 12:01 sleep time, and 5:00 wake up time.
It's like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're just like,
Yeah, right. Oh god! Already in office.
cat food or
Yeah,
whatever it
say
is.
reference. We got Always Sunny
Always
reference.
We're trying to get as many sponsors as we can. We're like, oh, well, nutrition companies, Suno clothing, whatever. Now we need TV shows. We need something.
I don't know if TV shows sponsor people, but like, hey, whatever. You guys
Sponsored
want
by The Office.
Yeah. I would take it.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
That's the way to
absolutely.
do everything.
So, this I feel like is probably the one which I'm actually interested to hear your verdict on the most. When it comes to intermittent fasting, verdict, good or bad, Giules?
I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it has that much of an effect on I wouldn't necessarily say performance, but I don't think it has that much of an effect on a body composition standpoint. If you feel better intermittent fasting, or if it works into your lifestyle, go ahead, by all means do it. But I think you can get the same results, again, eating a balanced diet of healthy foods.
Yeah.
And, you know, doing all the right things. It's
crazy how that works out,
Yeah,
right?
seriously. It's almost like it's too easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about post? Get off of me, Mike. Not you, Mike, but this Mike. It's all, yeah, well, whatever. I'm just trying to be like you, Jules, so just bust some mics. What about post-workout timing?
Post-workout carbs?
Post-workout anything.
So,
Because that's a big thing, right?
Yeah, there is.
You must eat 5 minutes after you do your last dumbbell curl.
That's
Exactly after.
and stare at yourself in the mirror for 20 minutes after that.
Bicep curls only work if you look in the mirror.
They don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There has been research that says within, I think the window's about 2 hours. 2 hours after working out, it is, beneficial if you eat, your carbs and your proteins. Not all of them in one.
Slow down.
It's aggressive shake.
Yeah.
Not like
Post-workout animal. She's tasted man flesh.
not like all of them in one sitting, but there is some benefits to it. You get to replenish everything that you just, not everything, but a lot of the stuff that you literally just worked off. So, yeah.
Get some of those glycogen stores back. Yeah.
For sure.
Proteins for the muscle building, for the gains.
So you don't think that eating 40 minutes or 30 or 40 minutes, I feel like it changes all the time. And just like getting huge, let's use some strange wording. If you just got a lot of protein.
Dan, you're on one today, man. I am absolutely enjoying this. Yeah.
It's been a long week already. What are we on? We're only on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Just kidding. I know it's
Thursday.
I know it's Thursday.
Yeah. It's cool, man.
I do know that. I do know that.
Cool.
So if you ate like, all right, I need to get 30 grams or 40 grams or 25 grams or whatever protein like right after my workout. So you don't feel like that timing is super important?
I mean, I think it's kind of important. I mean, like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a make or break thing, but like, I think like if you're gonna have like a protein shake right after you work out, that's an excellent choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think people really do kind of get crazy over that. And I know that there has been some research in protein synthesis in that time, but I feel like with any research, people kind of take what they want from it. So if let's say it's the most minimal effect, but the end result is, yes, technically it is better, but it's such a minimal effect, like you won't really ever notice it.
Yeah.
People, I feel like have taken that and gone, well, you definitely need it 30 to 40 minutes. Otherwise, your lift is wasted. And I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't get X amount of grams of protein after your workout within that time block, whether it's 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever they want to say, they might as well not even worked out. And I feel like that's kind of
That's a stretch.
Yeah,
That's an exaggeration.
stretch is a good way to say it.
Yeah, like if you don't have your protein shake, your workout isn't wasted,
Yeah.
Like you're still going to see those gains.
Well, I like what you said because with the 24-hour pathways, because if you do eat enough protein, then in a given amount of time, then your body is going to use that protein, right? And there's also no research that says that once you have over a certain amount, that protein is wasted, right?
Yeah.
So like if I have 50 grams of protein, it's not like my body can only use 25 at that time, right? So I feel like that's kind of a ridiculous thing.
That's a misconception I see a lot, is that people are like, if you get any more than like, I think this was something that I was actually taught early on.
Yeah, I was too, actually.
From, unfortunately, one of my nutrition classes, I believe, when I was at University of Oregon, was that if you should only be taking like 22 to 23 grams of protein after, like at one single time, and if you do anything more than that, it's just like not necessary, which now we're finding.
That's been debunked.
Debunked, yeah.
By Mythbusters.
But no, the people that bust myth, that's what we're called.
Yeah, the old Mythbusters.
At this point, you're just doing it to mess with them. This is great.
I know.
All right. Any final thoughts on timing? Any window stuff that you guys want to go over?
I think that pretty much.
Yeah, sums it up.
Yeah. So, any other nutritional topics that you guys really feel that are necessary to bring up? Go for it.
I do think so. I want to go back to my idea of carnivorios.
I was going to say.
And I want to say which kinds of meat I think is important to put in those little sandwich cookies. No, actually, what I really wanted to talk about is we've already been busting mics and this, but besides that, Giules, if you have somebody in front of you, right? How would you have them start their nutrition journey? I think is an important thing.
Yeah, I would definitely kind of get an idea of, what they're already doing, and then kind of reiterate to them, okay, like, are you getting enough calories? Are you, eating all of your macronutrients? You need your carbs, you need your fats, you need your proteins. And then where are those coming from? What sources are you getting those from?
So do you get like a log from them or like a journal or like?
I would love to. I mean, like, I'd, tell them to start with what they typically eat. If they could tell me, what they ate, like, or do even just like a recall of like the last like 3 days. Just a general idea of what they typically eat. I can tell based on that, okay, this is where you have holes in your diet. This is what you're getting a little bit too much of. If they're...
What are some holes that you... sorry to cut you off. That's really interesting that you say that. What are some holes that you most often see?
Protein. Mm-hmm. Right off the bat, protein.
Yeah.
So many people, I would say like 90% of the world population does not get enough protein in their diet. No. Yeah. So, I mean, the easiest way to supplement that is to literally just drink a protein shake every now and then. So, and just by doing that, like, you will see so many, I guess, like, just like better performance, like, overall. You're more satiated, things... You can lose weight. Sorry, I'm like stumbling on my words.
It's all good. I've been stumbling on my words, my ideas. I think I tripped coming in here today. So,
but yeah, so I definitely say like drink a protein shake, and I feel like the majority of people, even who come into like Madlab, do not get.
Yeah, we see it all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. Not even close. I mean, I had somebody that was complaining they weren't really seeing results from the nutrition and all this stuff, and I was like, all right, well, let's take a look what's going on. We looked at a food journal, and they were getting like 20 grams of protein a day.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I was like, oh man, I was like, we need to be at like 6 times that.
Yeah.
For them, what would you recommend? I mean, I get everybody's different. Everybody's have different goals, but if you have somebody that's really low in protein, what do you try to get them up to?
I would definitely say, so my go-to is usually like a gram per kilo of body weight. Or, I mean, if kilos is hard, then I usually say about a gram per pound of lean body mass. You know, so if you're like 160 pounds, I would aim for maybe like 140, 130 grams of protein per day. You know, just so you're covering your bases. You know, it's not just going to sit there. It's eventually going to be used, especially if you've been, like, not getting enough protein in your diet, like, religiously forever. Like, your body's going to love you, you know? I think that's kind of like a good, like, starting point. And then, you know, you kind of will take into effect, like, okay, do you want to gain weight, do you want to lose weight, you know, kind of after the fact. But just to like cover your bases and fill that in is like,
and start adjusting from there. It's a
good start. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think that you have a lot of people that go into working out pretty hardcore when they're trying to especially when they're trying to lose weight, right? And then they're not getting enough protein, so their body is not building back any muscle. They're spending so much time doing so much volume and everything, and the body really can't recover. So it's not going to change the way that they want, and they're not actually going to see a lot of those changes. So I agree. And then also, if you're not getting enough protein, then you're going to make up for it somewhere else, right? Whether it be in like fats or carbohydrates or whatever. So you usually aren't going to be in a caloric deficit because of that. Right? It's because your body's going to want to eat, get more fuel somehow, for sure. So then. What about I was going to say what about timing, but we already covered that whole entire thing, and that is not the word that I want to use. What about water intake? Do you ever do anything with water intake?
Water is so important. So water, literally every body system, you need water. You need water to function. And the whole 8 cups of water a day does not cut it for like just even the average person. Like I don't think it cuts it, especially a person who works out, especially athletes. We see so many athletes, you ask them, how many cups of water have you had today? Well, I had 1 water bottle like earlier. Like,
or 0, I only drink Coke and milk. One of our clients told us one time.
God. That
really happened. And we're like, wait, no, like what? Never any water? No, I don't drink any water. I was like, well, I'm kind of impressed, but...
Well, and then you, like, look at these people, especially, like, kids who are already, you know, tight just from growing. You know, they're injury prone. You know, they're not getting enough water. Their muscles tighten up. They have, like, 0 flexibility, 0 mobility. Like, and so that just affects all athletic performance and stuff like that. And then, you know... On top of that, lack of sleep, because I know they're like up playing video games and like hanging out with their friends.
We have a bunch of athletes like that.
Yeah. I'll say, who would do that?
No one I know.
Yeah,
but it's my time.
I definitely think that like the average adult, especially someone who like comes in and trains like a gallon a day. And I'm not saying you have to carry, like, the gallon with you, like the wrestlers. And
I can't just, like, toss some BCAAs into a gallon of water?
Just, like, drink a gallon of water throughout the day.
But
it's
looks
good
cool,
for you.
Right?
You're not going to have, like, hypohydrosis. You're not going to drown yourself internally. Like, aim for a gallon a day.
You almost drowned yourself today on this podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe water's dangerous. I don't know.
But, yeah, I think, just aim for that. And after you drink enough water, like, you'll start to feel a difference in just everything you do, you know? You'll definitely pee more, but...
Spelling demons. It always comes back to that. What can we get rid of?
Moral of the story, guys, expel your demons.
Do you do, what do you do with, do you do anything with their macros? Like, do you play with their percentages and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Once I get kind of an idea of, like, how their diet is on a typical day... that's when I kind of go in and I'm like, all right, like usually I start with protein. Like, are they getting enough protein? That's when I kind of adjust from there. I do the whole like gram per kilo of body weight. And then after that, I kind of fill in carbs and fats. So if they want to be in, I guess, more of a deficit, like if you think of like the calorie profiles of each macronutrient, carbs and proteins are always 4 calories per gram, fats are 9 calories per gram. So you can eat more carbs than you can like fats.
Right.
Like in a quantitative amount, you know?
Right, because the fats are way more filling.
Exactly. So if you're trying to meet like a caloric goal, then I would say, hey, maybe like eat, you know,
1 pound of crackers or 1 pound of peanut butter.
Exactly.
Why not combine them?
1 pound of peanut butter? Oh my God.
It's all about extremes here.
I would eat a pound of peanut butter in one sitting.
I would too, but I would feel horrible.
with some
Absolutely.
carnivorios.
Carnivore.
Hey, that's what it has. It has, it has peanut butter and man flesh for the wolf dog. Yes, she has tasted man flesh. All right.
Plans all come together now,
It
guys.
really has.
Yeah.
It really has.
Cool. Well, hey, I don't know about
Hey.
you guys, but
Hey, Alec.
that was a transitional phrase.
It was,
Hey, so
that was a great segue, I thought.
was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to hit that mic again?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, cool. So, hey, guys, great job today. I think that was awesome. Like, in general, I feel like if I were to be listening to this, I feel like I would have learned a lot already. So thank you, Giules, for joining us.
Anytime.
Really, really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, again for watching. Please remember, if you like the episode, if you like the podcast, like, subscribe, rate us on everywhere that you can find podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Remember, we also have our YouTube channel, and it's really important that if you want to use our YouTube channel, remember to subscribe and set those notifications so every time we get a new episode out, you're going to get it right away. All right? Thank you again, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of The Lab.